Hello and welcome to the fifth part of the shopping cart tutorial. In the previous part, we created the product info page and also we created the cart page. And now we are going to implement the add to cart functionality. We are going to do that inside our common.js. We have already created the method and now we are going to implement this. So how this works, when we click on add to cart, first we need to get this object. And then we need to check if this object already exists inside our cart or not. And if it exists, then we are just going to increase the quantity and we're going to make it +1. And if it does not exist, then we are going to push this element or push this object inside our cart. So first, let's get this object. So to do that, we need to get our model first, which is the products model. So we can do that by writing var model is equal to. Now here you can get the model in two ways. One is you can write SAPUI.UI.getCore by ID, and you can give the ID of our app, and then you can write get model, and we are interested inside our products model. Now this will work, but because our component is already attached with this particular view, you can also write object.getModel, and over here we are passing our event and we are passing the object as well, and this object is nothing but our controller. So if you get into our product info view, and over here you can see we are passing the event and we are passing our controller as well. So either of the way you can do, and after this we are going to get the path. So we can write var path is equal to e dot get source dot get binding context of our products, and from here we can get the path. You can write get path or you can also write s path, so both are same. And now let's print this inside our console and see what we get. So we should get the path of this particular object. So refresh the page, inspect element, and when we click on this button, we are getting exactly this path. And now we are going to get the data from this path. So we can do that by writing var data is equal to model.getProperty, and we can pass the path over here. And now if we print our data, we should be able to get this particular item. So let's refresh this page, and when we click on add to cart, we are getting exactly this particular data, and this data has got a unique ID, and we are going to save this data inside our cart. And the next time when we again add to cart, we are going to check if the ID matches or not. So if the ID matches, that means that this item was already there inside the cart, and we are just going to increment the quantity. So now we are going to get the model of our cart. So we can do that by writing var cart is equal to object. So this is our controller instance dot get model, and we are interested in the cart model and get data. Now don't get confused with this, because earlier if you look into our subcategory controller, we were trying to get the model this way, but you can also write this dot get model and that will still work, right? So in this case we are just taking the object, that is the controller instance, and then we are trying to get the model of our cart and we are trying to get the data. And if we print this, it is going to be blank, right? So let's do that. And when we add to cart, it contains an object with the items, but it has nothing. So we are going to push this particular object inside our items, right? So to do that, first we need to check if this item already exists inside our cart or not. So initially we'll assume that the item does not exist. And now we are going to loop through our cart data, and then we are going to check if the item exists or not. And we're going to use a jQuery function for looping this. Now you can do for loop, but let's use the jQuery and see how it works. So we're going to use $.each function, And over here, we are going to pass cart.items. We are passing cart.items because our cart contains an object which is items, and this is going to be an array. Because if you look inside our component.js, you can see our data contains a key, and this is going to contain an array. So we are looping over this, right? And this is going to be a function, and our function is going to accept an index which is going to be like 0, 1, 2, and it is going to give us the object. So now we are going to check if it contains an object whose ID is equal to data.id. So we are checking that if the ID of this matches with the ID which is already there inside our cart, then we are going to increment the quantity. And also we are going to mark the exist variable as true. And then we are going to say cart.items, and we are inside this particular item, and quantity, we are going to increment it by 1, right? And if you're getting confused, we will debug this and I'll explain how it works. And after this, we're going to check if the item does not exist. Then we are going to push this item inside our cart. So we get our cart model, we get inside our items, and then we are going to push an object which will have the ID, quantity, name, image, and price. So we can do that by writing our ID is data.id, and then we have the quantity, which is going to be 1, and then we have the name, and this is going to be data.name, and then we have the image, this is going to be data.image, and then we are also passing the price, and this is going to be data.price. And after this, we are going to update our cart. So we can do that by writing object dot get model, which is our cart model, and set data, and we're going to set our cart over here, and then we are going to print a message that the item has been added. So we can do that by writing sap.m.message toast.show, and here we can pass item added in cart, right? And let's see how to debug this kind of a scenario and check if it is working fine or not. So we are going to refresh this page, and we will get inside our sources tab, and we'll get inside common.js, and over here we are going to stop over here. So let's click on add to cart, and it stops over here, and let's study this. So we are getting the model of our products, it contains the model, and then we are getting the path, which is this, and from this path we are trying to get this particular data. So we have our data over here, and after that we are getting our cart model, and it doesn't have any data. So if we get inside our items, it doesn't have anything, right? And after this, we are assuming that we do not have this item inside our cart, and the first time it will not have anything, so it is not going to execute this particular path. So if the item does not exist, we are going to push this item inside our cart. So we are getting inside cart, and then we are getting inside our items. So we write cart.items, and then we are pushing this particular object, which is ID, quantity, name, image, and price. And over here you can see we have the complete data of our cart. So let's continue over here and click on play button. And now if you see our cart, it contains the items, and it contains one object, which is the object that we added. And then it is going to show us a message that it got added. So if we play, it says item added in cart. And now the next time when we click on this, it is already added. So we should get inside our loop, and it is going to check if if the cart item matches with this particular item. So when we try to add it one more time, it gets inside this loop, and then we are checking if this object, which is having the ID as 1, so this item is coming from inside our cart items, and we are checking if this matches our ID, which is again 1, then it should say it exists. So it goes over here, it is true, and then we are incrementing the quantity to +1, and then if we play this, it does not exist. And now if you look inside our cart, then it should say the quantity is 2. So that's the way we can debug this kind of scenario, and we can delete this breakpoints. So we are done with this functionality, and now when we click on the cart button, we should be able to see our items. So let's go ahead and implement the view. So we will implement the view inside our cart.view.js, and inside this we are going to create a table. So let's go ahead and write var otable. This is the same way as we did our products page. So we can write otable is equal to new sap.m.table, and this is going to accept an object. And inside this, we are going to write inset true. This is going to add some padding. And then we are going to have our columns. This is going to be an array. And inside our columns, we are going to add 3 columns. And the first column would be the image, and the second column would be the quantity and the price, and the third column will give us the name. So over here we can write new sap.m.column. This is going to accept an object, and we're going to add a header. And in the products page, we didn't add a header, so we're going to add the header over here, and we can write new sap.m.label, and this is going to accept a text, and this is going to be image. And after this, we are going to align this, and we are going to align it left. And after this, we are going to set the width, and in this case, we'll just write it as 100 px. And demand pop-in, I explained this in the products page. This is going to be true, and the pop-in display, this is going to be block, so it will come inside a new line. And the minimum screen width, we are going to write sap.m.screen size medium, and we are going to copy this. And the next is going to be our quantity and price. So we are going to change this to quantity into price, and our width is 100 px. That's fine, everything fine over here. And we're going to add one more column, and it is going to be the name, and this is going to be left. You can make it center or right, whatever you want. And the width, we are going to keep it as 100 px. You can play around with the width and check how it comes up. And so we are done with the table, and now we are going to create a template. So var template is equal to new sap.m.column list item, and this is going to accept an object. And over here we are going to make the list as active, so that it looks like it's clickable, but it's not going to do anything. sap.m.listType.active, list type is capital. And after this, we are going to add the cells inside this. So there is going to be 3 cells because we have 3 columns over here. And the first one is going to be the image. So we are going to write new sap.m.image. There's going to be an object whose src is going to be cart image. We didn't create the controller yet. We didn't implement the controller yet. So we need to bind the cart model with the controller. So we'll do that after we are done with this. And the width of this image, will keep it as 40px. It's going to be small. And then we have new sap.m.text. We are going to write the quantity and the price over here. So this is going to be an object whose text is going to be, now we are going to bind the quantity. So cart quantity, and we are also going to bind cart price. So this is a complex binding, and we have already written that complex binding inside our index.html. And after this, we are going to have one more text which will display the name. So new sap.m.text, and this is going to have a text, and we'll bind this with our cart name, right? And after we are done with this, we are going to use bind aggregation, and we are going to bind the items. So we can do that by writing otable dot bind aggregation, and we are going to bind the items with our cart items. Now we are using a slash over here because this is going to be the root element. This is the root node, and after this we are going to pass our template, right? And after this we are going to we also need a text over here so that we can see what is the total amount. So we are going to write var otext is equal to new sap.m.text, and we are going to give an ID. We can give it as TID, text ID. This is not a good ID, but always keep better IDs. And we are going to add a style class, and we are going to have a padding 40. This is the same style class that we added inside our product info view, right? Padding 40. And we are also going to add a justify class. And don't worry about how these classes work. I'm going to explain you when we do the CSS. So we are just adding those classes right now. And we also need a checkout button. So for o checkout button is equal to new sap.m.button, and this is going to have a text, and we'll name it as checkout, and this is going to have a press function, and we can write alert checkout. We're not going to implement the checkout, so we are just giving an alert over here. And we also need a custom button, so we are going to add style classes to this, and we can just write add style class, and this is going to be a custom button class. And now we are going to add all these things inside our content. So we can do that by adding the table, right? And then we are going to add the text, and then we are going to add our button. And now we are going to get inside our cart controller, and we're going to bind the model with our cart view. So we can delete all of this, and we can copy a part of code from our products controller, and that is it. And now we are going to get the cart model, and we are going to bind it with this view. So we can do that by writing var context is equal to sap.ui.getCore by ID, and we want the app ID dot get model, and we want the cart model dot get context, and we want the root context over here. And then we are going to bind this with our view. So this get view set binding context of this with our cart, right? And now it is going to match the pattern, and if the routing pattern matches our cart, then it is going to execute all of this. And over here we are first going to get the data of our cart model, and then we are going to check what is the total price so that we can bind that price with this particular text view, right? So this text view has a ID TID, remember that. And now we're going to get the data. So for data is equal to SAP.UI.getCore.by ID. If you're trying to get the app ID dot get model, and we are going to get our cart model dot get data. And initially we are going to set our total as 0, and now we are going to loop through the items which are there inside this data, and then we are going to add the price inside this total. So we can do that by using the jQuery loop function, which is $.each, and we are inside the data dot items, and then we are going to loop through this, and our function is going to have index and the elements. So first time when it loops, we get index as 0 and we get the first element, right? So here we are going to have price is equal to element dot price, and then we are going to have quantity is equal to element dot quantity, and for total we are going to concatenate this, and we are going to write price into quantity, simple math. And after this, sorry, we cannot initialize that, and after this we are going to get the ID, the text ID, you remember I showed you over here, and we are going to add HTML to it. So this is again a simple jQuery function, and we're going to make it a little bold. So we're going to have a header tag h3, and here we're going to write our total price is going to be concatenate this, and here we're going to write total. So that's all about the cart controller. And now let's go ahead and refresh this page and see if it works. So when we add to cart, it gets added. We are adding this, and we're going to add this twice. And if we get inside our cart, it says 2 into the price, but we're not getting the image. So let's get inside our cart view, and this should be greater than. So if you refresh this page, this all data will go because it is in the cache, you can say, or it is in the instance right now. So we are going to start over everything. So we get inside when we select winter wear, and we add this item once, and we add this item twice. And if we get inside our cart, so that's all correct. And let's get back and try to add this item. And if we get inside our cart, we get this as well. Let's add something from our summer wear. Let's add this fancy stuff, and then when we get inside our cart, we have that as well. So that's all about how to add items to the cart, and that is the entire shopping cart demo. And over here we are going to create a welcome page. We have not created that, and to do that we need to create a new page, and we will name that view as welcome view. Finish. So we have the welcome view over here, and here we are going to add some content. We're going to write the title as welcome, and we are going to have an image, or image is equal to new sap.m.image. There is going to be an object, and we'll write src. It is going to get inside our resources folder, and we already have a welcome image, so we are going to set that. and we're going to set the width as 500 px, so that should do. And we'll also add a text, new sap.m.text, and we're going to have the text as SAPUI5 shopping cart demo, and we will add a style class, and we'll write it as welcome text. We're going to do the CSS later on, and now we are going to have a vertical box, and we are going to align those items vertically, and they should be in the center. So let's go ahead and create new sap.m.vbox, and our vbox will contain our items, which is array, and it should contain the image, and it should contain the text, right? And now we are going to align them. So align items, this is going to be sap.m.flex align items dot center, and we are going to justify the text as well. So just justify content, sap.m.flex justify content dot center, and we will need to add a route for this. So let's get inside component.js, and we are going to display it when we are in the home page. So we are going to add a sub route, and this is going to be an array, and it's going to accept a pattern. We are going to copy this from here. So our pattern is going to be null because in the home page there is nothing on the URL, and we are going to name the pattern as welcome, and if the name is welcome, it is going to display our welcome page inside our detailed pages. And now if we refresh this page, we are getting this image, and we are going to use CSS, and we're going to make the background as white, but that's what we're going to do in the next part. So play around with this, and there should be some flaws over here that I might have missed. So for example, we get inside our collection, everything fine. We can go back, we get inside our cart, and for example, this back button doesn't work. So let's fix that. This is the subcategory back button. So let's first close all of this, and let's get it inside our subcategory view. And over here, oController.go back. So we have not implemented this. So let's go ahead and implement that. Go back. This is going to be a function, and we are going to call our router. So this dot router dot nav2 will get inside our home page. So men, we are over here. Let's add this to the cart, go back, add some items, and when we go back we come to women, and let's add some handbags for them and some footwear to make them happy. Add to cart. Let's get inside our cart, and we have all of this, right? So in the next part we are going to add the CSS and do some hidden trial method and try to play around with the properties and what else you can do with this. And if you have any doubts, post a comment. The next part is going to be the final part of this, and we're going to end this shopping cart tutorial. I hope you have managed to learn something out of this. If so, then hit a comment, and thanks for watching.